Hey guys, I'm Jameson with Rogue Engineer, and today I'm going to show you how we built these chaise loungers. Let's get started. So this chair is actually made out of a bunch of 2x4s and 4x4s for the feet. I laid it out in CAD, so I've got all the cut list and all the dimensions for the cuts that you'll need over on the website. I'm not going to go into those details here. If you want that, head on over there and you can have all that information for free. The legs are made out of 4x4s, and in order to add a little bit more interest, I wanted to put a taper on those. So I measured and marked that taper, and then I headed on over to the bandsaw to make those cuts. The first step of this process is going to be assembling the structure of the lounger. And to do so, I use 2.5-inch pocket hole screws. There's many other different ways to join these together. However, this was the easiest and most readily accessible for me, so that's what I used. If you like videos like this and you want to see more of them, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't done so already. And also don't forget to ring that bell right next to it so that you get notifications anytime we drop a new video. So you may have noticed some Milwaukee tools showing up in this video, and that is due to the fact that I am participating in a quarterly tool review called The Prospective, which is sponsored by the Home Depot. If you're interested in seeing more about these tools and my review on those, make sure you head on over to the website. I've got a link down in the description. Now we attach the outline of that seat to the base structure of the lounger. And that is done with, again, 2.5-inch pocket hole screws. We need to cut a profile in a piece of wood, and that's going to act as a catch for the back of the lounger so that we can incline or raise that up as needed. Now, I've put together a template. I kind of laid it out in CAD and then just created a template so that I could adhere that onto that piece of wood and cut it with a bandsaw. You could also cut this out with a jigsaw, but once we got it all cut out, we finished it off with some sandpaper just to smooth it out and make it look nice. Now we needed to create the mechanism that is going to go on the back to support the back. So we had to drill some holes. All those dimensions are again laid out on the website. However, we just needed to drill some holes to allow for the bolts and allow kind of a swing arm on the back of the lounger. With that part assembled to the back, before we bolted everything together, we wanted to make sure that we applied the paint finish to all the parts so that we could move on to final assembly. Now, since this is bare wood, like always, you're going to need to prime it before you paint it. So we applied several coats of primer, making sure to sand and fill within all of those coats. And I want to mention that we used DAP platinum patch to fill all of our screw heads. And the reason that we use this was because it's an exterior grade filler, and it can be used on a wide variety of surfaces from wood to concrete to any kind of siding. And the thing that I love most about it is that it dries really hard. It's very similar to wood filler. It's got a white finish and it's waterproof, 100% waterproof shortly after the dry time. So if you have any exterior projects that you need to apply a filler to, this is your go-to product. As far as the color for this project, we went with a color called Gladiator Gray from Behr, and we went with an exterior paint from them to make sure that it would be able to withstand the elements. With the priming and the painting out of the way, now we can move on to the final assembly. As far as the final assembly goes, we can install those slats, which are a little finicky because you have to install them from below. We didn't want to have any exposed screw heads after the painting process, so we installed those with 2.5 inch Craig screws from below. But obviously you're going to need to make sure that they're evenly spaced beforehand, and that spacing is a little over 1/2 inch all the way around each one of those slats. Now, to attach the support arm to the back of the lounge chair, we're going to be using 5 inch or 1/4 inch diameter by 5 inch long galvanized carriage bolts. And we're going to have washers on all sides of the wood, but as far as the nut goes, we don't want to over tighten the nut because then we're going to be creating too much friction between the blocks of wood attached to the back and the support arms themselves. And we want them to be able to swing freely as we put this back up. So what we're going to do to keep that loose connection but also prevent that nut from coming off is we're going to be using a product from DAP called Tank Bond Thread Stopper. And this is a great product because it's not a permanent bond between the nuts. So if you over tighten it and over time the wood might swell up a little bit and you've got too much friction there, you can actually back that nut off a little bit and create less friction, but also make sure and know that that nut is not going to work its way off. It also is going to be able to absorb the shock and vibration from constantly putting that back up in the down position without loosening up that nut. To attach the back to the base, we're going to be using 2.5 inch galvanized hinges, and that's just going to make sure that they stand up to the exterior elements. So these loungers were actually designed around the replacement Chaise loungers from Target, and the dimensions on those are 24 inches wide, the seat is 48 inches deep, and then the back is 30 inches tall. So any replacement cushion that is around those dimensions should work just as well. However, I will link these cushions up in the description below. The color that we went with is linen, but they have a bunch of options, so head on over there and check it out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. We love how they turned out. I know that they're gonna get a ton of use over the summer. If you want the full plans for this build, you're gonna get those right there. Just tap on that button and it'll take you on over to the website. Until next time, be safe and happy building.